Becoming the father to a group of adorable little dumplings. What kind of magical experience is that? Today, I bring you a cute and healing series, Academy Daddy. The protagonist, named Dragon, lost his parents in a plane crash, leaving him with his 2-year-old brother, Alan. Later, Grandma Ella, who also lost her son and daughter-in-law in the same crash, adopted Dragon and his brother. However, there was a condition. Dragon needed to take care of the staff's children in the nursery during his spare time. For Dragon, who had taken care of his brother since childhood, becoming a dad to these kids was not difficult. But for other students, this was simply trouble. Thus, the nursery had not recruited any student volunteers to date. Currently, there was only one employee named Tree, but there were as many as 5 unruly kids. At Tree's request, the children began to introduce themselves. Jack, Lily, Moon, and Baby Moll. Dragon asked his brother to greet everyone. Unexpectedly, Jack immediately wanted Alan to play a monster and directed the other children to join in. Worried Alan might be bullied, Dragon took on the role of the monster himself, only to be mobbed by the kids. Alan, realizing his brother was being bullied, rushed forward in his tiny frame, shouting, "It hurts. I surrender." Who wouldn't want such a cute little dumpling? Worried about disturbing his brother, Alan quietly went to read a book. Tree clocked out on time, leaving the children in Dragon's care until their mothers arrived. Time quickly passed amid fun and noise, and the mothers picked up their children one by one. Now, only Jack's mother had not arrived. At that moment, the nursery door opened, and in came a teenager named Amy, standing in for his mother, who was grading papers, to pick up his brother Jack. After sending the last child home, Dragon prepared to take his brother back. Suddenly, Alan felt too. Dragon, carrying Alan, rushed out asking Amy for the nearest pediatric hospital. After dropping Jack at the office, Amy accompanied Dragon to the hospital. The doctor said the fever was due to environmental changes and advised rest. Dragon breathed a sigh of relief, turned to update his parents, but then remembered they were gone. Tears fell as he cried, and a gentle hand touched his shoulder. "You've finally let it out." At the funeral of the crash victims, only their grandmother and the brothers had not cried. She comforted Dragon. "Though we cannot bring back the dead, we are not alone in this world." Alan, waking from a nap, cried, calling for his brother. Despite his young age, he realized he could no longer see his parents. That night, the brothers slept huddled together, and their grandmother tucked them in before leaving. This warmth touched Dragon's heart. Now, they were indeed not alone. The next day, Dragon joined a new class and became classmates with Amy. Alan also integrated well into the group, becoming part of the unruly kids. That day, Dragon wore the school uniform prepared by his grandmother, and after dropping off his brother at the nursery, he was ready to return to class. Along the way, everyone saluted Dragon, leaving him somewhat perplexed. Turning around, he realized the children had been following him. Not just Alan clinging to his brother. Even Jack wanted to play with Dragon. "Jack, shut up! I want to play with Dragon!" "Shut up!" Teased by his brother, Jack turned and ran back crying. Jack accidentally bumped into top student Andy's leg. She dislikes it when people break school rules, such as bringing children into the classroom. She scolded them harshly, which scared the children into crying. Dragon quickly apologized, and then he and Amy took the kids back. Soon after, Andy came to the nursery to deliver a lunchbox for Jack's mom. At that moment, Tree pretended to have a stomachache and handed over the nanny duties to Andy. The kids, scared to see her stay, hid behind Dragon. Moll started crying loudly. Jack, gathering courage, led his friends to drive the big monster away. Andy showed a kind smile, but it only scared the kids even more. Seeing the kids close to Dragon and resistant to her made Andy feel uncomfortable. Despite her stern face, she actually wanted to bond with the children. Due to high expectations, she became an idol burdened by her image. The harder she tried to excel, the more people shied away from her. "Don't cry, sister. Why are you all crying too?" Finally relaxing, Andy fell asleep alongside the kids, marking her first time skipping class. One day, Alan was feeling down. Upon asking, he revealed that Jack had mocked him for never seeing a real elephant. Amy immediately hit Jack and made him apologize to Alan. "You always scold me. Do you hate me?" "What are you talking about? I neither like nor dislike you," Amy replied. Jack felt deeply hurt by his brother's words. but Amy was unmoved and firmly dragged Jack away by the collar. Meanwhile, Dragon decided to take his brother to the zoo during the next holiday. Hearing this, the kids couldn't sit still and wanted to join. Thus, the brothers' duo outing turned into a nursery group outing. Back home, Dragon invited Grandma, but she refused to go with the kids due to her idle burden. However, she had Jones prepare a lavish lunchbox and some pocket money for the brothers, along with an overwhelming amount of snacks. "Thank you. I appreciate your kindness," Dragon said, taking his brother to the meeting point. Amy entrusted Jack to Dragon and then left for a club meeting. Jack, feeling upset, pulled Alan away. Later, Dragon took the children to see the elephants. Tree helped take photos. Next, they saw the big elephants, which terrified the kids, who then ran to their mothers for comfort. Alan stood quietly, looking brave but actually startled. At lunchtime, Dragon opened the lunchbox prepared by Jones. The exquisite presentation and taste impressed the mothers. Everyone had a great time, except for Jack, who was still upset because of his brother. Later, the group visited a gift shop where Dragon picked out a sheep keychain for Grandma. Jack hesitated at the shop entrance and then saw someone resembling Amy in the crowd. He hurried after the figure but discovered it wasn't his brother. Lost and anxious, Jack wanted to find the group but tripped and fell. "Brother, what do you need?" At that moment, in Jack's eyes, Amy was the hero who rescued him from distress. Despite Amy's sternness, Jack still loved him the most. Valentine's Day quickly arrived, and the girls secretly brought chocolates to school, hoping to give them to the boys they admired. Andy's classmate David, known for his good looks and grades, was particularly popular among the girls. David, who also loves children, took the opportunity during the break to visit the nursery and volunteered to help. He complimented the children extensively and quickly won their affection. However, David has a peculiar issue. He loves children so much that he can't help but get nosebleeds when around them. During this, his friend Bob exclaimed that David shouldn't stay in the nursery because his affection for children was excessive. "Everyone come over here. No, it's not like that. I just genuinely normally love little kids," David tried to defend himself. He even claimed that his nosebleeds were due to eating too much chocolate, but his friend exposed this excuse on the spot and dragged him away by the collar. "I give up on joining the club, but can I still come here occasionally to pinch everyone's cheeks?" The children, hearing that it was a chocolate day, persistently begged Andy for chocolate. Since school rules prohibit bringing chocolates, Andy promised to bring some the next day. On his way home from school, Dragon bought chocolates from a supermarket to thank Andy, mentioning that since they were off school grounds, accepting them wouldn't break any rules. Andy's face turned bright red, feeling a flutter in her heart. Have you ever seen a toddler version of a heating pad? During an outdoor gym class, the cold wind made everyone shiver. Just then, Tree brought over some milk buns. They gathered around Dragon, asking for hugs, acting like human heating pads. Other students, both envious and jealous, rushed forward to compete for a hug from the adorable kids. Overwhelmed by the attention, the milk buns started crying. Hale hid in the bushes but accidentally bumped into a suspicious man. Sensing trouble, Dragon quickly passed his brother to someone else and chased after the man. Amy, without hesitation, took off her shoe and threw it accurately at him. The man, named Eric, turned out to be Hale and Moon's father. He dressed suspiciously because he didn't want to be recognized as a famous actor. He longed to bond with his sons during his vacation, but they never called him Dad, which deeply saddened him. Dragon suggested that Eric should stay and bond with his sons today. Just as Eric picked up Moon, he thought, maybe I should just go home. Please wait, Dragon interjected. This is extremely difficult, but if you give up now, you'll only grow further apart from your children. Eric decided to follow Dragon's advice. Even though he wanted to show his fatherly side, Moon cried whenever he saw him. Eric was heartbroken and had no choice but to say goodbye to his sons and leave. However, he forgot to disguise himself and was recognized. Surrounded by female fans, Eric was moved to tears when he heard his sons shouting, "Daddy, don't go home!" He tried to reach them but was blocked by the crowd. All right, students, if you don't go back to class now, everyone will be held back, warned a teacher. Moon's mother explained why he was afraid of Eric. Recently, she had been watching TV dramas at home with him, in which Eric played the villain, causing Moon to be scared of him. Misunderstandings were cleared up, and father and sons embraced tightly. As Dragon moved up to high school, he wanted to promote the nursery club, but all promotional spots were taken. He had to go back to the nursery room, which coincidentally was just in time for a walk. Tree suggested taking the milk buns to visit other high school clubs. The toddlers formed an orderly line and ventured out, chanting playful rhymes. Lily first visited the drama club, where her mother was playing a ghost, scaring the toddlers pale. Lynn's mother invited Dragon to join the drama club, but he politely declined, wanting to focus on the children. Meanwhile, the toddlers smelled something delicious and ran to the cooking club, begging the older girls for snacks. Unfortunately, the snacks weren't quite ready. Andy, a member of the cooking club, loudly blamed Dragon for not watching the children closely. Though startled, the seniors understood his concern for the children's safety. The club president wanted to invite Dragon to join, but knew he needed to care for the children and gave up the idea. Next, Dragon took the children to an outdoor sports club. Amy spotted her brother from afar but turned away as if she hadn't seen him. "Annoying brother, I came especially to see you." Dragon watched his peers play, yearning to join them, but no one was interested in the nursery club. He asked Tree to watch the children while he went to post a promotional flyer for the nursery club. At that moment, Amy came over with Alan and handed Dragon an application form. Alan had noticed his brother was upset and had brought Amy to cheer him up. The other children also brought him cookies, proving themselves to be a bunch of adorable little angels. One morning, Dragon woke up feeling groggy and weak, a clear sign of a cold. His grandmother knew immediately and asked Jones to fetch a thermometer. She also picked up Alan, worried about him catching the cold. Despite feeling sad, the well-behaved Alan decided to do what he could to help his brother recover quickly. His grandmother handed him half a lemon and told him that honey lemon water could restore Dragon's energy. Motivated, Alan used both hands and all his strength to squeeze the lemon, managing only a drop at first. Realizing it wasn't enough, he continued his efforts. In his eagerness, he got up too quickly and spilled what he had. "Do you need to squeeze it again?" his grandmother asked. Alan's persistence was truly admirable. On the other side, Dragon was having a nightmare. In the dream, his parents were saying goodbye to him at the airport. They even wanted to take Alan with them. Dragon desperately tried to stop them. Unknowingly, tears streamed down his face. At that moment, Alan wiped his tears, but only smeared them more due to the lemon juice on his hands. Grandma brought over some lemon water and told him Alan made it. Dragon was touched. As he drank it, he felt a warmth in his heart. "All right, it's about time you leave this room. Just because you drank the medicine doesn't mean your cold will instantly disappear." 3 days later, a high school student named Elvis came to the nursery looking for Mal. He claimed he would become Mal's father. Dragon was shocked. "Forget that you're a high school student. Mal's mother is already married." It turned out Elvis was a romantic, firmly believing that love knows no age, and that being married was irrelevant. Dragon's worldview was shattered until Tree arrived at the nursery. He slowly came to his senses. Dragon asked about Mal's father, and Tree said he was still alive, but doing archaeology overseas and wouldn't be back anytime soon. This made Dragon wonder if Elvis was the other man in Mal's mother's life. After school, Dragon saw Elvis again in the nursery, being bullied by the children. Dragon quickly stepped in to save him. However, when speaking about Elvis and Mal's mother, he noted that stealing someone's wife was very unethical. Elvis completely missed his point and explained that Mal's mother's husband had passed away. He couldn't bear to see her raising a child alone and was willing to take on the responsibilities of a husband. At that moment, Mal's mother came into the nursery. Elvis couldn't hold back and was about to confess his feelings deeply when she interrupted. "Sorry, Elvis, but Mal's father, who has been away for a long time, is coming home today. Smile, please. And yes, my husband went to Turkey for archaeology." Elvis's young heart was shattered. One day, Dragon was playing dress-up games with the children, but Lily was not cooperating. She didn't believe in knights in armor and suggested they learn magic and join a witch organization instead. Jack angrily countered, "Witches are deceivers." Amy shushed him. "People who destroy children's dreams might be cursed." Jack pulled out a photo to prove that knights in armor existed. Lily, having only a picture book, decided to ride a broomstick to prove witches existed. However, in a materialistic world, flying brooms are impossible. Lily, undeterred, believed that with enough practice she could fly. Amy thought they should just tell Lily that witches don't exist, but Dragon didn't want to crush the children's dreams. Andy, overhearing their conversation, decided to help Dragon and brought a lot of literature about witches. "Andy, I'm sorry, this is too scary. I can't show this to Lily and the others." Dragon remembered his grandmother. Though she was convincing in her role, it was clear she wasn't one to simply comply. Meanwhile, Lily was still not giving up. Tree told her not to jump from anywhere too high. This sparked an idea in Lily, and she decided to jump from a height, crying in pain as she landed in Dragon's arms. Besides being scared from the jump, she was also upset that she couldn't really fly. At that moment, Grandma appeared and told her, "Kid, you'll have to wait 100 years to fly." Could Grandma fly? This reignited Lily's hopes, and Jack stopped arguing and even agreed to play witch games with her. This was the first time Mochi had run an errand. With small steps but large strides, he turned heads in the hallway. In the morning, Dragon had rushed and forgotten his lunchbox. So, the adorable Alan volunteered to deliver lunch to his brother in the school building. Tree, worried, asked Elvis, who was passing by, to help, using a photo of a beautiful woman as bait. Alan's determined steps were halted by daunting stares. "Little brother, let me take you up." "Don't give up," a sister offered. Alan insisted on going alone. Seeing this, Elvis was frustrated that the students went back to studying instead of helping the child first. On the other side, Dragon discovered he had forgotten his lunch and was about to return to the nursery when his classmate Mia, who had a crush on him, brought him a lunch made with love. The boys in class, seeing this, eagerly shared their lunches with him to prevent any close interaction between Dragon and Mia. "Great, you have many good friends," Amy noted. Alan, persistently trying, had made it halfway up the stairs when he was knocked down by two people turning the corner, and his lunchbox flew out of his hands. Elvis managed to catch it just in time. Handing the lunchbox back to Alan, he intended to leave after achieving his goal. "Masked brother, thank you," Alan said, deeply touching Elvis, who then decided to clear the way and escort Alan to Dragon's classroom. Seeing his little brother deliver lunch alone, Dragon was both touched and worried. Despite being fed by his classmates earlier and feeling bloated, he didn't want to waste Alan's effort. Dragon picked up Alan, and the brothers happily finished the lunch together, successfully completing Alan's first errand run. That day, after washing clothes, Dragon was hanging them in the yard. "Brother, what happened?" Alan asked, pointing to the wall. At some point, a little boy named Bill had appeared, stuck in the bushes. With a familiar hairstyle, he was definitely Bob's younger brother. No matter how he struggled, he couldn't get free. Dragon tried to help, but ended up getting slapped. Comforting the upset Mochi, Dragon called Bob. However, Goat, a peculiar character, showed up instead. "How cute," he remarked. Andy, who met Goat halfway, decided to come see the child together. Now that Bob was busy working and couldn't leave, he had to ask Goat to check on the situation. Andy, finding the child uncooperative, sternly advised him not to run away from home, causing him to cry loudly. Bob's family was not well off. They couldn't afford games, which is why he wanted to sneak in to see what wealthy families were like. Suddenly, another figure darted out from the bushes. Dave defended his brother, arguing that although it was just a game for adults, for G, it was about self-respect. This scene reminded Goat of his childhood friend. Bob didn't have games back then, but he vowed to create his own game console through hard work. Goat was really impressed by his determination, and indeed, Bob could do anything, just like a multi-skilled warrior. At that moment, Dave realized that being born into a poor family wasn't necessarily a bad thing. They decided to study hard to create their own games, inspired by their brother. Girls were discussing love. Mia's crush was exposed, making her blush deeply. Her friends weren't surprised. After all, who wouldn't love a nurturing man? However, Dating him seemed complicated because of his brother, a potential obstacle in relationships. Then, a girl mentioned she was close to Dragon and speculated whether they were dating. Friends thought it unlikely since Andy was too focused on her studies and seemed destined to remain single. Just then, Andy overheard them. "I don't know what you're here for, but if it's for such trivial gossip, at least have the decency to close the door behind you," she said before walking away. Yet, once alone, she couldn't stop thinking about Dragon, her heart racing whenever she saw him, making her too nervous to face children. Suddenly, Lily appeared behind her. Hearing that the child had come to play with her, Andy was happy inside but asked them to go back due to school rules. Lily began to cry, asking if her sister hated them. Andy quickly explained that it wasn't the children she disliked, but because of that person, she couldn't face them. "Do you hate Dragon?" asked Lily. "No, it's not that. Do you like him then?" "That's impossible," Andy replied. Realizing something, Lily decided to join forces with Alan to show Andy Dragon's charm. In the classroom, under Lily's strict instructions, Alan began to act cute, asking for hugs. However, Andy felt indifferent towards the overly affectionate Dragon. Lily then understood that Andy preferred a stricter approach. She ran to Dragon, asking playfully to be punished. "All right, I did it. I hit her." Dragon played along. Amy intervened. "Don't hit before understanding what the child said." Lily tearfully claimed that hitting her was the only way to reconcile with Andy. Andy hurried to clarify it was all a misunderstanding, and she did not dislike Dragon. "So, sister likes Dragon, right?" I said that's impossible. Andy quickly left. Concerned, Dragon followed her, grabbed her hand, and then noticed a sticker on her dress. The onlookers were thrilled by the drama. Dragon, ever so clueless, just pointed out the sticker. I was about to leave for work when I saw Hale sticking close to Amy. Indeed, a son isn't always a caring little jacket. Sometimes, he's more like his dad's tough leather jacket. Meanwhile, Hale took Alan's hand, which displeased Jack. "How can my good brother be taken like that?" he protested. As they tussled, Amy landed a solid punch. Jack, learning that Moon was sick and didn't come to school, generously grabbed Hale, offering to help him fight off the cold. The kids then launched an attack on Tree, who was cooperative but totally clueless about his resemblance to a cold. Dragon left for the classroom, worried about Hale. The twins had never been apart since birth, and surely didn't want to be separated even for a moment. Hale slept until the afternoon, reached for his brother's hand out of habit, but touched only Jack's sock. Realizing his brother wasn't there, he quickly got up and ran out of the room. Alan saw this, found his brother, and brought him back to the school gate. Hale sat quietly by the roadside, seemingly waiting for Moon. Dragon comforted him gently, promising to have Tree call and check on Moon's health. At that moment, their mother arrived with Moon. Seeing his twin, Hale's suppressed loneliness burst into tears. After being comforted by their mother, the two held hands, ready to go home. Together, they were truly at their best. After school, Dragon opened his locker and unexpectedly found a pink love letter, unsettling Mia. If she hadn't written it, who had? Dragon was about to open it when Andy suddenly appeared. Yellow took the opportunity to snatch the letter and read it aloud. "Dear Dragon, forgive my boldness, but I like you very much. Just thinking of you keeps me awake day and night. And I'm already sleepless." The sincere letter made Andy's and Mia's faces change color, and Dragon blushed deeply, overwhelmed by the direct confession. Back in the nursery, Dragon was distracted, unable to cool down. Thinking his brother might be sick, the considerate Alan brought him a small blanket. Dragon tried to calm down but became more distracted. That evening, Jones, knowing about the confession, made red bean rice to celebrate, which only made Dragon more nervous. Near bedtime, Alan picked a storybook for his brother to read. Seeing Dragon covering his face and distracted, Alan thought he was sick. He quietly put the book away, deciding to sleep quietly and not bother Dragon. On the third day, Dragon resolved to reject the confession, grateful for the feelings expressed. Dragon now has to take care of Alan and doesn't have time for a relationship. While he was distracted, Alan let go of his hand. Meanwhile, Andy and Mia met at the intersection. Due to the confession to Dragon, both had a sleepless night. At that moment, Dragon grabbed Andy to ask if she had seen Alan. Although neither had seen him, they eagerly volunteered to help search. While the three were looking around, Amy brought Alan over, It turned out that Alan had misunderstood that Dragon was sick and had gone to get lemons as a remedy. Alan's thoughtful and sensible behavior deeply moved Dragon. He went to the meeting place mentioned in the love letter and gently rejected the girl's confession. "Is this really okay? You seemed happy, but rejected her because I want to cherish Alan right now," he explained. Hiding in the bushes, the two girls realized they were rejected. Indeed, Alan was their biggest rival in love. However, through this incident, Mia recognized Andy's gentle nature, and the former rivals shook hands, becoming good friends. That day, Jack called Alan to invite him and his brother to a temple fair. Upon hearing this, the butler immediately presented them with yukatas. At the meeting place, Amy found it strange to see the brothers dressed so formally, especially Alan in a feminine yukata. Jack, unconcerned with these details, pulled Alan into the crowd and bought some cotton candy, which Jack quickly finished while Alan chose to save his. Attracted by a raffle stall nearby, Jack eyed a prize belt and was about to discuss it with Amy when he was abruptly pulled away. There are definitely no prizes tied with rope, especially not a gaming console. "No, I want to try. I want to draw," he protested. As they walked on, they encountered Tree, who, seeing Jack crying miserably, quickly offered a paper net and invited them to play a fishing game. But Jack stubbornly insisted on the raffle. At that moment, Amy realized the blind spot. Jack had lost his beloved toy sword. After a thorough search by everyone, it was nowhere to be found. Finally accepting the situation, Jack was persuaded by his brother to try the raffle game instead. At the raffle stall, uncertain which one to choose, Alan grabbed one and miraculously drew the toy sword. "Hey sir, come out for a second. Wait, that one's just found. No need to get so mad," they said. As summer arrived, the nursery organized a beach trip for team building. The kids, clear about their likes and dislikes, either loved the water or cried upon touching it. The mothers came along, and seeing Andy in an old-fashioned school swimsuit, decided to give her a makeover. Dragon held Alan as they entered the water, comforting his brother not to be afraid. Suddenly, a wave hit them head-on. After reaching the shore, Dragon told Alan that the ocean wasn't scary at all, but his expression didn't seem convincing. Fortunately, Dragon quickly gave up and decided to take the children to build sandcastles. However, a large wave soon washed everything away. At that moment, the mothers brought over some juice. As Alan was about to drink, he asked, "What are you drinking?" Amy's mother responded by playfully scolding her son, demonstrating that Amy had learned her scolding technique from her. Meanwhile, Andy had just changed into her swimsuit, which Dragon found very cute, particularly the pattern on it. Dragon wanted to take Alan swimming again, but Alan's reluctance was clear as soon as he touched the water. Giving up on swimming, they finally got the children to sleep, and Dragon took the chance to swim alone. When Alan woke up and realized his brother had gone swimming, he ran towards the beach but was frightened by the sea. However, his fear of losing his brother overcame his fear of the ocean, and he jumped in, only to be swept back to shore by the waves. Alan cried in his mother's arms, his cries alerting Dragon, who quickly returned to comfort him. Knowing Alan was worried about him, Dragon felt both pained and touched. He gave Alan a seashell he found, a keepsake that when held to the ear would let one hear the ocean. Their father had told them about this, hoping it would help Alan grow to like the sea. On another day, Jack arrived, red-eyed and sniffling, having been crying over a fight with Amy. He had retaliated against Amy for not playing with him by destroying his brother's treasured signed baseball. Ignored by Amy, Jack was devastated. Dragon was asked to check on the situation by Amy's mother, but he was hesitant as he was taking care of the children. His grandmother stepped in to help. At the baseball field, classmates warned Dragon against approaching Amy because she was visibly upset. However, thinking of poor Jack, Dragon went anyway. He explained to Amy that children can be mischievous, recounting how Alan once ruined his homework and flushed his phone down the toilet. Despite his frustration at the time, Dragon never ignored his brother. Amy, however, felt differently, upset because Jack's actions seemed malicious rather than accidental. Meanwhile, the grandmother, learning what had happened, decided to teach Jack a lesson by smashing his toy sword on the ground, showing him the impact of his actions. Realizing his mistake, Jack decided to apologize. However, Amy initially walked away when she saw him. Jack slipped and fell while chasing after her, which softened Amy's heart, and she urged him to keep up. The brothers eventually reconciled. At the nursery school's cultural festival, The children, dressed as vegetables, welcomed their fathers. Tree even prepared a special corn costume for Dragon. Rin's mother visited the nursery but had to leave due to work and an unreliable husband, so she asked the three to help take care of her daughter. Rin's father soon arrived at the nursery. As soon as he entered, he was captivated by Lily, clearly a doting father of a daughter. However, Rin's mother wasn't fond of him. At that moment, he was still imagining that the caretaker for Lily would be a beautiful fairy-like sister. But turning around, he exclaimed, "Damn! You're a man, aren't you? Such a disgusting fool!" Rin's father was furious to find out that the nanny taking care of his precious daughter was a man. Seeing that the other children were boys only fueled his anger. He picked up one of the few girls in the nursery and demanded Jack and the others share their opinions about his daughter. If they liked her, he suspected ill intentions. If not, he thought they had bad taste. Rin's father, plagued by his double standards, wanted to take Lily home. Dragon quickly intervened. Upon seeing Dragon, Rin's father, mistaking him for a pretty girl, said, "If I were 15 years younger, I would propose to you." At that moment, Mal pulled off Dragon's wig and they decided to go home, remarking, "Even if you're cute, a man is not acceptable." Amy told Rin's father he could leave, but must leave the cute child behind. Despite this, Rin's father continued with his sweet talk, only to be reminded again, "You're also a man." Although he disliked being around men, he decided to stay for his daughter's sake. Soon, other parents arrived at the nursery to see their children. Next came the juice-serving moment. Rin's father moved, took a cup, and started tearing up at the thought of his daughter growing up and getting married. Alan also brought juice for his brother Dragon, and despite spilling some, Dragon was happy. In the end, Rin's father took a commemorative photo, concluding the school festival successfully. The following day, Amy's mom arrived at the nursery and invited the children to watch chicks hatch, exciting everyone, including Dragon. However, as hatching took time and the chicks were not immediately visible, the children became noisy. Seeing Dragon unable to calm them, Amy exclaimed, "Shut up and behave!" Although she hadn't hit them, her approach seemed like a reign of terror. Alan quietly watched the eggs, interested in the hatching process. This interest was so intense that Jones didn't dare crack an egg in his presence, ruining the plan to make egg rice. On the third day, Amy's mom brought them to the lab. Through the glass, they eagerly awaited the hatching. The process was long, and Dragon was nearly falling asleep. Who is making that sound? Even Alan is trying hard, steam coming from his head, someone noted. Soon the chicks hatched, a moment of birth that deeply moved Alan. By the end of the school day, since Alan was the first to see the chicks hatch, they followed him everywhere, making Jack jealous, who then tried to play with the chicks. Suddenly, a cat appeared on the windowsill, and Alan quickly protected the chicks under him. Fortunately, Amy intervened just in time to stop the cat. Dragon patted his younger brother on the head, praising him for his bravery. That day, Tree had a cold and a fever. Since Dragon also had to keep up with his studies, he enlisted Jones to help. Alan silently encouraged the butler, which moved him deeply. However, since the other children were unfamiliar with him, the situation became awkward. "How can I get closer to the children?" Jones wondered. "Yes, what young master Alan said is true," Jones agreed, realizing something. He bowed deeply and said, "I am incompetent and new to this place. Please do not hesitate to offer your advice and assistance." His flattering approach quickly won the children over, and their relationship improved significantly. Meanwhile, Tree was trying to sleep peacefully, but was rudely awakened by a phone call from Jones. Tree, not recognizing the voice and feeling uneasy, dragged himself to school despite his illness. He collapsed halfway there, but fortunately Dragon was nearby to help him reach the nursery safely. Nothing too terrible had happened. Jones had managed everything well. It turned out that earlier Mal had an accident with his pants. Lily and Jack volunteered to help. One fetched diapers and the other water to clean. Unfortunately, they collided, soaking all the diapers. Jones tried to call Tree to ask where the spare diapers were kept, but Mal accidentally broke the butler's phone. The children started to cry helplessly. However, as a competent butler, Jones quickly found a cloth and changed Mal's diaper. Tree finally breathed a sigh of relief. The children crowded around him, encouraging him to get well soon. Moved to tears, Tree was touched. Then Mal crawled over and grabbed his trouser leg, saying, "Rabbit." Surprisingly, The first words the little baby spoke were not calling for his parents. A truly rewarding moment for the father. That day, Mia, under the pretext of fetching a ball, tried to sneak a peek at her crush, but was caught red-handed by Hale. Terrified, she quickly hid. "What have you been doing from the start?" No, Molly, I wasn't skipping the club activity to spy on Dragon," Mia explained. Andy thought she liked cute kids because she was lurking outside the nursery and invited Mia to play with the children. However, Mia did not agree. Seeing this, Andy misunderstood and thought Mia did not want to go with her. As Andy was about to leave, Mia grabbed her, saying, "Actually, I am really scared of interacting with little kids." "I found it," said Moon. "God, my love life is over." To change Mia's mind, Andy decided to confront the fear head-on. "If you spend more time with the children, you can definitely overcome this fear," she proposed. The children crowded around Mia, eagerly introducing themselves. However, this good start didn't last long. Lily, attracted by Mia's bust, lunged forward and said, "I want to touch too." Tree then organized a walk for everyone. Dragon entrusted Mia with his most well-behaved younger brother, Alan. Although Alan was neither crying nor fussing, he was upset about not holding his brother's hand. Mia pulled out a handkerchief to wipe his tears, but ended up wiping off a lot of snot instead. Jack quickly ran over and used his skirt as a handkerchief. Then, Lily came over with a gift, saying, "This is for you, thank you, Mia." After waking up in the infirmary, Mia felt too embarrassed to face Dragon. She was ashamed of her fear of children, thinking it would mean she could never get married. However, Dragon didn't see it that way. He understood how overwhelming children could be, as they often exhausted him with their antics. Despite the hardships, his love for the children filled him with joy and satisfaction. The children came to the window, wanting to apologize for their earlier behavior. Mia accepted Lily's flowers and decided to let go of her reservations. "Can you play with me next time?" she asked. As Christmas approached, Alan developed a keen interest in Santa Claus, to the point of being mesmerized. Jack excitedly shared his experience of seeing Santa, but Tree told him that Santa would never visit a naughty child like him. Upon hearing this, Jack burst into tears. Amy, protective of her brother, immediately scolded Tree without hesitation. Just as Amy was about to tell her brother that Santa doesn't exist, Dragon quickly covered her mouth, preventing her from shattering the children's dreams. Alan comforted Jack, assuring him that Santa would definitely come. Days passed and Christmas was drawing near. Everyone, children and parents alike, was ready for the holiday. Dragon wanted to surprise his brother, but due to a phone malfunction, he had to ask a classmate to check the price of Santa costumes online. His classmate suggested he ask his grandmother for a phone as a Christmas gift. Dragon shook his head, not wanting to bother his grandmother. Amy, hearing this, skipped class to visit the principal's office. On Christmas Day, Jones prepared a big feast, but unfortunately, he and the grandmother were too busy to join. Alan was disappointed, but Dragon comforted him, promising to stay and wait for Santa with him. Dragon faced a dilemma on how to dress up as Santa without Alan noticing. He excused himself to go to the bathroom, but Alan followed him all the way. Just then, the doorbell rang. "Merry Christmas, Dragon and Alan!" The grandmother had brought Dragon a gift, a brand new phone, seemingly aware of his need thanks to Amy. Later, everyone gathered for a party and took a group photo to commemorate the day. The series School Daddy ends here, with adorable moments that are truly heartwarming. Dragon's gentle and patient nature makes him a beloved figure. For fans of cute and healing stories, this series is not to be missed.